afternoon on the other side of the Atlantic. We are going to start our session today, and we are welcoming our friends here. I want to say that our friends are part of this family, we are going to be very proud of introducing our friends Jay Chatzkel, our friend Professor Shanker Seetharam, and we also have our friend Larissa Michelin, which is going to also be with us today.
Recording has started.
Some research results. So we welcome all of you, and we have our special invited colleague, Tatiana, I don't know how to say, Tatiana Cortese, right, for this particular session. So very much welcome to all of you. And I would like to say that our invitees are going to introduce themselves, and we are going to share what we call a MAKCi experience. And this is going to be kind of a remembrance day for MAKCi, because we are going to set into account the many experiences and richness that we have been building up for the last 13 years. I think 13 is a very symbolic number, and that's why we are celebrating in many ways today what we have been gathering as particular session is about how do we measure how the cities are doing in terms of so we will be interesting to see that our colleagues will bring information that in this past years we have been finding out on how to identify and also recognize those achievements in cities. So welcome to this session, and without any further ado, I let the floor to Professor Jay Chatzkel. Thanks a lot. Welcome, Jay. Just to remind you, Jay, we are looking at your screen. We have already your PowerPoint in it. It's just, it says starting subtitles. So don't worry, we'll wait for you.
Professor, your microphone is muted.
Jay, your mic is off. You need to click on the microphone icon right above. In the upper part. Oh, there you are. Good.
Well, should I start again or what?
We are not looking at your screen.
Yeah, I think you better start again because we missed everything before.
All right. Can you see my screen at this point?
No, it's just a black.
We have to wait a bit, yeah?
Oh, there it is.
Okay, we're looking at it.
Okay, excellent. You hear it, you see it. Anyway, my name is Jay Chatzkel. I'm a part of a consulting practice called Progressive Practices. I've been involved with knowledge management and intellectual capital, the knowledge capital, for about 25 years at this point. I got to know Dr. Carrillo earlier on in that life, and we've been associated through from the Monterey event, which was the first conference, World Capital Institute conference, and then since then at a number of other points, but ongoingly. So this event is called, I give it a subtitle, Reimagining Our Lives, City, Regions, and Futures, touching on Monterey, where it all began, Shenzhen, which took place a couple years after that, and Arequipa, Peru. And this is to get a sense of what the legacy has developed from all of that. So I have 5 points. I'd just like to sort of contextuate what this is about. I think that these are things that have stayed with me, that all of these events are catalysts for mobilizing cities and regions to have cross-country cutting conversations on their past, their present, and their future. Second, these are all environments for bringing together practitioners and academics from a wide variety of perspectives and places to share experiences and approaches for, to immerse attendees in the lives of the peoples and cultures of the host areas. So it's not that you just are there, you're there, and you begin to experience what the places and the peoples are like. The fourth is there's celebrations for forging relationships that go well beyond the events themselves, and I think you can see that in this, what we're doing exactly now. We all have known each other for a long, long time, and we'll be going into the future. And then fifth, that these are the events were jumping off points for creating a body of knowledge for next levels of thinking and for establishing a written record. All the presentations were captured and published in various journals and other vehicles so that they are there and have been referenced by many, many, many people over the years. The first one, going to Monterey, which took place in 2007, and it was known, it was part of an overall event. One of the things that I did a presentation called Monterey as a Knowledge Capital, and one of the things that Blanca has told me is that the scorecard that was in that has stayed in people's minds as something to reference on. So I'll just give a little brief note here. I considered, there's pluses, which are the things that would make a difference as people move to create their knowledge cities, which are things like educational institutions, industrial service base, political capital. What are the amenities, the clusters of cultural organizations, and the transportation elements network. These are the elements that needed to be cultivated. And then on the other side, there are vulnerabilities. And these are things, whether if they're working well, you have a much better base to go forward. If you have a politically stable institutions, if you have a sympathetic leadership, and if you have a supporting industrial service base, you have a much better opportunity to go forward to make a difference in all the plus areas. And you can make a reference between 2007 and now and see how these things interplay between one another. It'd be always a wonderful conversation to dwell on that. The next event was in Shenzhen, China, 2 years later, and this was hosted by the municipal government of Shenzhen and a host of other organizations, Club of Paris, World Capital Institute, and many other people. This is a photograph of the center of Shenzhen, and I think you need to think about Shenzhen being, in 1979, was a fishing village, very indistinguishable across from Hong Kong, and in 30 years, it magnificently transformed themselves into this. So that's a reference point of what can happen and what did happen. These are two of the important people opening the conference. I believe he was from the Shenzhen municipal government, and there's Leif Edvinsson from Club of Paris welcoming people to the conference. And moving along, you see Dr. Carrillo and Blanca, who graciously made all this happen from our end, and it made it, gave us the opportunity to have this wonderful event. One of the first things that happened was that the World Capital Institute Most Admired Knowledge City Awards, and this is a shot of that taking place. It's sort of a grounding point. I was there, and the Pasha is handing me the award. I took it from Blanca and several of the other winners from their regions and cities there. But it's a landmark event at all the conferences. I want to make sure that everybody knows that these are very welcoming. The level of effort put forth by the host is just remarkable. This was the welcoming banquet, and I think if you're getting this this wonderful event, everybody else, everyone had a place at the table for this, and and their voices were heard, and the food was fabulous. It's the Xi'an panel discussion. You see that the gentleman in the middle led the city of Xi'an's, or the region of Xi'an's transformation into a knowledge region. Xi'an is best known for its the army of the emperor's soldiers that are the clay figures that were discovered and are the major tourist attraction there. And they're just remarkable, but I think I had no idea that this was happening, that this transformation to a knowledge-based arena was also taking place, and it was a crossroads city trade-wise, economically, and so forth. So that was the other side of Xi'an, and that's what this gentleman was spearheading the lead on. And just to give you an idea of the kind of thinking that was taking place, and this is in 2007, so this is 12 years ago, 13 years, 12 years ago. These are just two of the slides, and just as a reference, according to the agreement of integrated regional cooperation, high-tech zone, and signed, universities would establish a tightly knit cooperative alliances, abiding by basic principles, sharing complementary advantages, developing high-end and advanced products, and playing the radiating and leading role. This is the first step towards becoming a knowledge city. And on the second is these are the obstacles to getting all that happening. So if you go back, you look at this and say, what's changed? You could go to any city that's involved here, and they will probably say this, very much the same things at this point in time. But this is where you begin, and they did a marvelous job. It was extremely impressive. Here we have some of the other conference presentations from Gunnar Koch, and who has been very active in this conference, and the young lady in the other photograph was representing the city of Melbourne, Australia, that had also made a major effort, and she was reporting on that. So it was bringing the world to place into Shenzhen, and going in both directions, from Shenzhen to us, from China to us, and from us to China. This, amongst the different things, there were, besides the plenaries, there were a number of breakout sessions. This one was about the city of Hong Kong, and how the municipal government was transforming its agencies and services to become knowledge-based. And it was excellent. This is one of our good friends, Carmen, who's been involved as long, if not longer, than me. An excellent person. So we had really outstanding representatives attending. This is when I referenced the immersion into the culture. This is called the Folk Culture Village in Shenzhen. It's one of the high points of Shenzhen, and you see that I think there's 60-some cultures in China. It's not just the China is not a one-face entity. It's many faces and many cultures, and there's a richness there that allowed us to begin to get exposed to that at this luncheon, which, if you go back, it's just really remarkable. We went also to the Shenzhen Museum, and the Shenzhen Museum documents the transformation in 1979 or thereabouts under the Premier Dao Xiaoping to become a economic development zone. And one of the things that happened make this massive change was they brought in railroad cars filled with construction workers. And these are some of the construction workers. As you can see, it was not all work. There was a fair amount of play in building this. Those from the United States, it reminded me of our former president, Bill Clinton, on his saxophone, So they do know how to have a good time. And I think that infuses subsequently as well. One of the other places we went to was the Institute of Building Research, the Green Building. This is where all kinds of technologies to make a sustainable environment. One of our colleagues, Yossi, is filling out a pool of every floor had its own gardens, it had its own light, it had its own water, and it was just stunning. I think I haven't seen anything better than that since then. So I'd be curious as to know where things are at now, but it was just really remarkable then. And this is another example of how the community, the host welcomed us. It was everywhere. You know, warmly welcome all friends from the Second World Summit of Knowledge City visiting our institute, and they meant it. It was from the second you were there to the moment you're standing outside, you knew that there was a relationship, a very happy relationship. Back to the panel, the future of cities, and these are some of the main players for the conference. There's Leif, there's Dr. Carrillo, there's Amon Bufar, Carol Lynn, and Dr. Kim from the Polytech in Hong Kong. So everybody had a role, and this is a part of the culture that we were brought to the Dragon and Phoenix show. This was another stunning event. This is not the technology, the precision, the ability to carry this off is something that you remember for the rest of your life. But it's a landmark for the city of Shenzhen, and it just shows it's not just another place on the map. They really have cultivated what they can be. Finally, we went to the park, which overlooks, and if you remember the first slide, this is from where you look out and see that view of Shenzhen. And this was one of the farewell gatherings, and another one of getting to know the people. People come up there. It's just an open park. The kids, people play badminton, all kinds of things. And this is Carmen with one of the young people, and it was just the camaraderie and the relationship was just very open and a thorough joy. After the conference, I went to Hong Kong to the Polytechnic Institute and gave a talk on knowledge capital and how Hong Kong could be knowledge capital. The thing I remember most is, and I think I found it to be true at all times subsequently, every city has to create its future, and every city has a debate as to how to get there. And sometimes they work through it better than others, and to where that is not been satisfied, then you see the continuing conflicts. And if you look at Hong Kong today, you'll see those conflicts taking place right in front of you. So you become a knowledge capital, you have to deal with all those conflicts and build that future. Later on, just going past, we went to Arequipa, Peru. This is on the left, you see the banner, and you'll see a number of faces there that you'll recognize at this conference that were also there. And this is the welcoming by the chancellor of the Arequipa University, and it's very traditional wood-paneled room that we held most of our events in. It was another exceptional experience in both directions. So that, I hope, gives you a little glimmer of the heritage of the WCI events and the legacy that has come forward. And if anyone has any questions or would like to have a copy of this presentation or anything else that I've been involved in, please contact me at that information, and I will be happy to share whatever I can with you. Thank you very much. Okay. Back to Blanca.
Thanks a lot, Jay. That was a very much of a visual tour to memory land, as we say. And I'm sure, you know, we of course, bank on them. So time we have comments and questions, but in the meantime, I would like to welcome that we call in a friendly way, Shanks, so that he also can come and share some of his experiences during these 13 years, and in particular,
Recording is on.
2009 second KCWS conference in Shenzhen in China. I think he also has some information from there to share. Shanks, the floor is yours. Thank you.
I think he heard his microphone's not on.
Yes, we're not hearing you, Shanks, because your mic is in mute mode.
Can you hear me now?
Shanks?
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
thank you.
okay. All right, so I too have a few things to say. A quick glimpse to my profile. My background is I'm new to teaching, just about 22 years. And compared to a lot of my peers who've been around 35, 40 years, I came from the profession of marketing and worked globally, lived in Hong Kong for 4 years. And it was quite strange because I was one of those rare South Asians working in Hong Kong in the 80s. Then I worked in Dubai, New York, and I'm what you would call a confused Indian, you know, so not really sure where we belong. Or politely, as my friends would call me, a global citizen. Came to Canada 21 and a half years ago, worked in the corporate line, switched to teaching, started teaching marketing, knowledge management, global business, and so on. And I helped to create the business program. So going back into the heritage, as what Jay talked about, is essential insight that I'd like to share. And do let me know if you do see all this. Can you see this? These slides visible to everyone?
Not full screen.
Yes.
Good. My journey going back into 2008, I started with knowledge management as a attendee to a conference out here in Toronto. And the professor Nick Bontis, some of you may have heard of him, found me as an interesting participant in this conference. And the next thing I knew is I was working side by side with him, helping him conduct some of his conferences and a whirlwind of travel. In 2009, he was the one who told me about KCWS. And thanks to being introduced to Blanca, it was a very memorable trip. And I did come to Arequipa as well. And I could have come to Brazil, except that it was right in the middle of my semester. I teach a variety of students, postgraduate, undergraduate, and this semester, for instance, I have over 400 students in 3 different classes. So I have told them, going forward, that to participate in the World Capital Institute, we will be instituting an assignment and a possible discussion board so that students can actively be involved in ongoing activities, conferences, papers, just about everything else. So the journey down memory lane I'm going to quote from what Jay and to sustain the development of cities. And Blanca, on the other side, created a concept of GCS, a tool to sort of benchmark how cities are leveraging their capacity for knowledge-based development. Now, there's a lot of this being discussed in cities. At the time when I wrote this paper, the concept was BRIC, B-R-I-C, BRIC countries, Brazil, Russia, India, and China, and how many of these cities were leveraging. Unfortunately, today we really only talk about Brazil, India, and China. Russia is sort of unable to leverage. However, going forward, the context of cities and their identities is always, as Jay and Blanca referred to, is building an advantage. I would call it a competitive advantage. And somebody like Michael
Shanks,
yes.
sorry to interrupt. Are you using your PowerPoint? Because we cannot see it.
You can't see it. So,
Don't worry, take your time.
You can't see any slide at all. Can you see the first slide?
No.
No. Let's start and start it again.
You need to press the share screen icon at the top.
Yeah,
and then confirm.
Can you see
There
it
it
now?
is. There it is, indeed.
All right. All right.
Good.
Okay. So sorry about that. And so I was talking about referencing what Jay had spoken at the conference, and I also referenced what Blanca did. You possibly heard me, so what I'm going to do is skip that and go forward. And what is interesting is after that conference, I tried to connect with the Institute for Building Research, and they were, as Jay pointed out, very hospitable, but they were not very forthcoming in my quest to understand the specific areas of sharing of information, and if I would call it nuggets of data that they possibly poured over, so that my students at the postgraduate would understand. Like a lot of minds, we tend to see a problem and think in a linear fashion and reach an end point. And I wanted my students and the faculty to understand what exactly is the pattern of knowledge sharing. Instead, what I did get, and I'm going to share with you, is they talked about and I'm not going to go through each and every word, but what I'm trying to try and do is, they talked about the erosion of issues related to construction, which was what they were into. And the issues of traditional construction, which involves damaging the environment, the use of gasoline, high degree of carbon dioxide, lots of spills and other accidents. And they specifically put out a plan of how they would overall avoid this. And so this is what I was trying to do. I was trying to assess, that in China, much as in most other countries, there's a complex home management system. And I'm sure it exists in Mexico. It is definitely there in Canada and the US. And some years ago, when I went to Brazil, to Rio, I did understand that the complexity of federal, provincial, territorial, and local organizations of how they manage the natural resources. There are agreements. So not for a moment can I dispute that there doesn't exist a mutual understanding of a mutual end goal. However, they did not want to spoke a lot about managing the environment, tapping into natural solar, heat, wind, and so on, which today we take for granted. But conspicuous to try and assess that since there were so many departments, what was the method? Did they have weekly meetings? Did they have preset documents, that would enable a meeting to be conclusive, etc.? And I was not able to establish that pattern, but I did see, the end product, which is, the Institute for Building Research. And as Jay rightly mentioned, it has definitely been the gold standard. And I have traveled extensively over the last 12, 13 years, the 35 countries. And I haven't quite seen the gold standard being met anywhere else on the issue of different knowledge systems which help to arrange the environment from a knowledge sharing indicators base that I was talking about. And so this construction that they were talking about, this construction of building, I'm going to get to the end point very soon. I am quoting Sustainable Building in China, A Green Leap Forward, written by Richard Diamond and 4 other scientists who were responsible for that building project. And it was all based on the sustainable design using 40 different technologies. And it is mind-bending to try and understand the different kinds of technologies that were put to place. So I guess in a command economy, like the way China is, it is a matter of pride for them that they do find a way to communicate with each other without too much of debate, which allows for a certain amount of progress to take place, things which in the Western part of the world we still find hard to accept. So very quickly, what I'm going to do is show you some of those pictures, which I think Jay showed you also. And this is directly from their brochure. And what was interesting is that on the left side here, you would see several committees they had created and a whole lot of people who were standing members. And from what I understood, there were 14 groups involved locally, at the territorial level, at the provincial and the federal level. And the outcome of this was such that they've managed to do a rollout in about 100,000. So this is the gentleman who was able to see it through. So when we talk about tacit and explicit...
Thanks, we've lost your screen again.
Oh, we have, is it?
Yep.
All right, I think it had something to do with going to this brochure. And let me get back there.
Yes, James.
There we go. Can you see this now?
No? Oh, yes, yes.
Thank
you.
So it's back to the beginning. So let me just take it. Well, actually, the truth is that I am actually done with the slides. And to sort of quickly summarize, for want of a better word, I'm going to use the word heritage. I'm very happy to belong to this group. And we lost this. Yes, but you can hear me now.
Okay, Shanks is
There you
reporting
are.
that he's done for now.
Yeah.
Yes,
Now
thank
I
you.
can do it.
So thanks for all these reflections, Shanks. May I introduce now to Larissa Michelin, who is going to talk about part of her research, which is very much advanced, and we definitely want to hear from her today. The floor is yours, Larissa. Thank you.
Just one sec. Can you see my slide?
Should be coming.
Yes, Lottie, we are seeing it. That's okay.
All right. So, well, thank you, Professor Blanca. Hello, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank Professor Blanca and Professor Javier and all of you from WCI for this opportunity to be here today, sharing a bit of my research. I feel very honored for being here. So thank you very much, first of all. Well, so I am Larissa. I am a master's student in Brazil at 9 de Julho University. I'm doing my master's under the supervision of Professor Tatiana Cortese and Professor Chatzkel. And so what I'm gonna present today is part of my master's research on the graduate program in Smart and Sustainable Cities here in Brazil. And well, let's start it. Well, we are investigating how international events can contribute to the local knowledge-based urban development of host cities. And we are looking specifically at the KCWS. That's why it's very important for us to be here today. And the research is divided in, we could say, two parts. One of them corresponds to semi-structured interviews with the WCI Executive Board. We made 5 interviews in May this year to get the perception of these board members about the purposes and the contributions of KCWS on the cities where it was held. So looking to the KCWS event series as a whole. And then we have the second part of the research, that is a case study on the city of Bento Gonçalves in Brazil that holds the 4th KCWS in 2011. And the objective is to explore in more detail the relationship between the event and the KBD initiatives and achievements of the city, covering particular and contextual settings. And I have to say that for this part, we are counting on the valuable and generous collaboration of Professor Ana Cristina Facchinelli, who is also here today. So has been a great partner for us in this research. And I would also like to take this opportunity to say how grateful we are, Professor. Thank you very much. So moving on, what I will present today are the results of the analysis of the 5 WCI Executive Board interviews. So what we understood about their perception of
Larissa, we just lost your audio. We can see your presentation, but we cannot hear you. Can you do something about it?
I think maybe she lost her sign, Blanca. I'm telling her to get out and get in again. Oh, she's back. Larissa, do you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Hello.
Okay, so now
Some reason, I don't know what happened. I was out of the meeting, but don't
no
know
problem.
whether at what time that happened. That's, I'll share my screen again.
You are still explaining how the research is being made, so now go on.
All right.
You were freezing for us.
I guess it's because it's changing for the PowerPoint. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
All right. That of course that would happen now, but I'll try again. Can you see it?
No, your presentation is not up. Oh, yes, it's coming up.
Yeah, it's coming.
It's coming up, Larissa. So don't worry. It means there's a signal, you know, a slow signal. But take your time. Don't worry. We really want to hear what you have to say.
All right. But the image is all right now? And
Yeah.
can you hear me?
Yeah, can you?
All right. So I don't know at what point I was out, but well, I was telling that we had the interviews with WCI Executive Board, and also we are doing a case study of Bento Gonçalves. So what I'm going to present to you today are the results of the analysis of those 5 WCI Executive Board interviews. It's what we understood about what the Executive Board members told us. And we covered 5 main topics during the interviews that were people, or the main stakeholders of the event, the goals of both the WCI and the hosts, also what we are calling place aspects, how it happens that the event goes to a specific city, what are the hosting processes, etc. Then we talk about the contributions, of course, contributions of the event to host cities, and also some reflections about the future. So,
Larissa, may I ask that you turn your camera off? That might speed your sound.
Oh, all right.
Thank you.
I guess I'll have to. Yeah. With the stakeholders first. And here say that triple-headed statements are the most repeated. These numbers are references coded. All the numbers in the presentation, they indicate references for items coded for a specific topic. So here clearly there is a predominance of triple helix agents in conversations, government being the most cited one, also government agencies, local administrations, state governments, national level, and so on. And one interesting point is that the experts and the speakers of the conference, they are frequently mentioned, and they to be, let's say, the main assets of the event. They deliver the value proposition of the event, so they are regarded as very important stakeholders. Also, we have knowledge organizations, which would be R&D institutes, innovation institutes, some sort of hybrid organizations involved with knowledge. And something that we also notice is that there were few references to civil society organizations or civil society representatives, and we know that these are important stakeholders, but there were not many mentions about it during the interview. Now, moving to goals, and we answered that we realized that with the goals and organizational goals, the goals WEI as an organization has, and host goals. And it was interesting to notice that there is alignment among these goals. We also asked the alignment, and their perception was that there is alignment. The words convergency and resonance were all used. And then when we analyzed and grouped the goals that were mentioned, they corroborated it. So WCI has the purpose, for example, of helping cities build or improve their local KBD, and the cities want to leverage local KBD analysis initiatives. WCI seeks to further the study and application of KBD. Local seeks to learn about KBD and to as institutions within the in that may vary in each city. So, for example, governments, they may expect to learn techniques or state-of-the-art systems and model. Universities, they may be looking they may want skill training, competence development. So it may vary according to who is the leading partner in that particular city, but there is time. So, for example, the WCI seeks to extend its knowledge network. The local host wants to build a network. Also, for example, host cities urgent. Alignment was mentioned to be due to the effort of keeping constant dialogue with local stakeholders. That was very, very strong.
I think we lost Larissa. We just lost her, right? Yeah, okay. We will give her an opportunity to finish off her presentation as she is back. And now, because we don't have a lot of time, I would like to start my own presentation right now. So if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and share my screen. Are you looking at my screen? Can anyone tell me, please?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. Like I mentioned today, we are not reporting for the very first time a MAKCi exercise today. What we are doing right now is what we call a most admired city remembrance, which is really what we wanted to do today, to let this community know what has been done and how can we move forward, right? So I prepared a somewhat descriptive presentation, but it stems from the reflections that we had this week with other indicators and indexes, because MAKCi, above all, is an exercise that seeks for indicators of knowledge-based development efforts in the urban communities. So let's go ahead. The Most Admired City, the Most Admired Knowledge City Awards, called MAKCi, is an international consultation exercise aiming to exchange perspectives within the knowledge-based development community. It seeks to reach consensus, identify and recognize those communities around the world who are successfully engaging in formal and systematic development processes under the flag of knowledge cities. And today I'm just going to talk about a bit of the focus that we have in the exercise, a lot of the places and some of the perspectives that we have from the MAKCi exercise and consultation. MAKCi originates with TLEOS, which is an initiative that is no longer there, but they created the MAKE Awards, the Most Admired Knowledge Enterprise. Right now, MAKE has been transformed into MAKCi, the Most Innovative Knowledge Enterprise, and it is being hosted by the Hong Kong Polytechnic University with Dr. Eric Sui, the one we talked about when Jay was presenting the initiative in Shenzhen. And we have, yes, the combination of the MAKE Awards with the generic system of capitals that is part of the World Capital Institute, our gracious host in this event. And they combined, they made a very sound and a precise methodology to identify knowledge-based development initiatives. It is combined with a Delphi technique. For the very first years, we had this combination of Delphi methodology in which 3 rounds of consensus-seeking interchange made the decisions of who were the most admired knowledge cities of the year. This is the generic capital system, and it has, as we know, 8 different dimensions to criteria, and we call them identity, intelligence, financial, relational, human, individual, and collective, and human, material, and knowledge-based capitals. These 8 dimensions can be transformed into really hundreds or even thousands of indicators to find out, let you know a little bit base, like
recording
health
is
and
on.
education, with a collective base as life culture or cultural fieldness, for instance. Instrumental capitals can be tangible, all the natural from the rivers to the mountains, and the artificial, which are created by the inhabitants, which is the infrastructure from bridges and roads that connect different communities to, of course, all the electronic means that we have today. And in the intangible capitals also are taken into account some electronic and non-electronic repositories of information and knowledge. I'm going to browse around very quickly because I want to go to the second part of this presentation, but I want you to know what are the triggers of every capital, because we're going to identify this later on for our communities, the communities we have been in. So we have identity capital, right? And it's about how it contributes to determine the city's identity, like the historic profile, city characterization, belongingness, etc. Intelligence capital is about planning the city future. The financial capital is not only the GDP, as we mentioned yesterday. GDP is really no longer a good indicator, but we can have also investment tax system, unemployment, and many others. And we have mentioned those really in the past couple of days in this conference. We are very keen to analyze the relational capital of the city, the community, in which ethnic diversity, individual health, intellectual and cultural competences, etc., can play a role in the capital system of a community or a city. We have the individual capital and the collective, right? Civic culture, innovation, entrepreneurial capacities, for instance. And we have the instrumental tangible capital, which is, as we mentioned, not only the natural, but also the built infrastructure, and the instrumental intangible capital, which is all those repositories and production and organization systems in electronic or non-electronic repositories. So this is what we based our analysis on, and I would like you to come with us to this specific tour of the 30 WCI MAKCi years. I would like you to start identifying the capitals of this community. I'll give you a few seconds to think about it and let us know what kind of city is this. The ones who were here with us in those days, in those years, will actually know that this is, yes, our very city, the one we are hosting this conference from now, and it's basically called Monterrey. This city hosted the first Knowledge City World Summit, and it happened in 2007 in Monterrey in Mexico. This is our first awardees, and we can see there the awards went to Singapore, Barcelona, and Boston. We have the city reps receiving the awards, and this is one of the memory photos that we have of that event. Please identify this community. I'm sure you will immediately, since we already have seen some of the photos. Yes. We are talking about, yes, the second Knowledge City World Summit in 2009. It is Shenzhen in China. And we do have, as Jay posted, yes, remember of that. But because, as we know, we were, some of us were there, yes. Okay, and this is, of course, the next one, yes. I don't know if you recognize the and in Melbourne, Australia. And yes, we had, again, the presence of Manchester there, also Singapore, right? And so year. Anybody there that could recognize this? I hope so. I hope so, because we are talking about the fourth edition of the Knowledge City World Summit and MAKCi Awards. This is 2011, and this was in Bento Gonçalves in Brazil. We had some invitees. Yes, Liv Edvinson went up to Bento Gonzalez in that year, in that edition of both the CISC, which is our Ibero-American Congress, and our Knowledge City World Summit. We did have the awards recognition there too. This is another community. I don't know if you recognize it. It's very, very peculiar because the city is in a nutshell, as we say. It is very, very much our Matera city in Italy. That is the place where the 5th conference of Knowledge City World Summit in 2012 was run. And we did have also the MAKCi Awards recognition there. What do you make of this? I don't know if you recognize part of the culture, the buildings, maybe a little flag there. Yes, it's our 6th edition of the Knowledge City World Summit and MAKCi in 2013. This happened in Istanbul in Turkey, and you also might recognize some of the people there, right? In the MAKCi Awards there. What about this one? I don't know if you have moved from the Latin American or the Asian cities into this one, which has a lot of tradition, a lot of European tradition. And yes, we are talking about the 7th edition in 2014 of the Knowledge City World Summit and MAKCi exercise in Tallinn in Estonia. We had a very, very emotional MAKCi Award ceremony in one of those wonderful, traditional, very Gothic buildings in the center of the city. What do you make of this? Yes, it's big and it's got this Asian flavor. It is the 8th edition of the KCWS in 2015 in Daegu, South Korea. And we had, yes, a gracious and international audience for not only the MAKCi Awards, but a number of things as you would imagine. And we can also talk about a lot of this experience. Okay, moving on. What do you make of these photos?
Vienna.
Yes, it's our 9th edition in 2016 of the KCWS in Vienna. We had a very gracious host, and this is the trophy that they offered to the winner cities in that year. And what about this one?
Arequipa.
Yes, that's correct. We're approaching more, so to speak, modern times. And we will talk about the 2017 KCWS in Arequipa in Peru. And it was the 10th edition, very much culturally adorned. And really, we had a very formal ceremony for the MAKCi that is barely shown here. And maybe you recognize this and the big sign on the road about the Knowledge City World Summit in 2008. Can you trace out which place is this?
Tenerife.
Yes. Oh, hello, Christina. We were there together. I wish I had put the photos together. We can definitely share some of those because we made this trip together, and it was yes, a pleasure to be in Canary Islands. And this is our very last presential, presence-based conference. And of course, you might be guessing where it is. It has been in the city of Florianopolis that we call Floripa in Brazil. And it has been the 13th KCWS edition in 2019. So this is the trip to Memory Land. We did have our MAKCi Awards
Very nice.
I didn't have too many photos for that, so
Beautiful.
maybe we can share those too. Yes, you have a comment there? Okay. This is for the analysis of all that we have been through these years, the ups and downs. We have 13 years of exercises, but we didn't do it this year because, as you know, cities were one of the most difficult sites to be working with, in the sense of talking to the people who actually are in charge of giving the indicators for the cities. So this year's was special, as for all of us. 2020 was very special, but we have this list of the also the Knowledge City World Summits that we have also for the 13th year in a row. Of course, our own right now is a virtual premiere, as we call it, here in broadcasting from Monterrey in Mexico. We have a platform of at least 52 cities. And the important part here is that all the cities that we visited, plus many others, have actually created what we call a MAKCi nomination form, which is the one that allows them to be aware of what the capital system is. And the more indicators, the more precise the actual, let's say, the actual value that they add to their city will be in place. So we have created this list. We can actually expand it. That will be the idea. But we do have the information for these particular cities, and we have definitely collaborated with most of the cities that we have been with a conference in them. We have a list of MAKCi finalists from the exercises, and also we have a list of MAKCi winners. This is also to analyze how do we move on in terms of the kinds of questions we can ask to the cities to generate more indicators that are closer to the city reality and also the city challenges that they are facing. One of the reasons we didn't do any exercise this year is because we need to identify the new emerging needs and challenges the cities are having after the post-COVID era, which is obviously some of our interest. I'm just putting here some the impact that MAKCi has had in different communities, from India to Germany and Melbourne and Shenzhen. Yes, we have had different publications from different people that are part of, as we say, this community linked to WCI and MAKCi. I want to make a pause here. I'm done with my presentation, but I want to share that just yesterday, we learned of the passing away of our friend Ángel Arbonía, a member of our Ibero-American community, Spain, Portugal, and all Latin America. He's from Spain, from the Basque region, and he is a close friend of many of the ones who have been sharing these knowledge-based spaces. So he has passed away yesterday, and we thought it was a very timely time to run just 1 minute in memoriam to him. So I'm going to share a set of pictures that have been shared by the ones we were considered his friends, and not only for friendship, but also for, as we mentioned, all these knowledge-based endeavors that we have been doing for the past at least 50 years. So this is for this community and the friends who are part of it. I'm going to show a number of pictures, and if we can keep at least, a 45-second silence, that will be more of the honor that we want to do in memoriam to Ángel Arbonía. Thank you. Thank you very much for being with us right now. And this is the end of my presentation and the in memorial for Ángel Arboniz. Okay, so we have actually very little time for comments and questions. I don't know if Larissa, yes, you made it back. I'm glad you made it back. Maybe without the presentation, you want to finish off with comments what you had in your time slot. We can't hear you, Larissa. I think your mic is off.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, please go ahead.
Well, I'm sorry for that trouble. I don't know. It's like Murph law. It goes wrong when you need it. But I'll just make some reflections that's with what I was intending and was thinking to conclude. What we notice is that the event KCWS reaches out to a wide spectrum of stakeholders, which contributes to the building of these valuable collaborative and partnerships and networks, and which is one of the purposes of the event also. So and also something that was very clear for us is that the event has, we call it sensitivity to the local context and to the host city's interests. And this is one of the strengths of KCWS, making it very consistent with the local expectations while continuously renewed for the KBD community. This uniqueness of each event is remarked as something very refreshing. And I would show that, wasn't able to do that, but we've seen that there is resonance between the goals of the event and the results that it achieves. So this is a very positive aspect, of course. And finally, the association of new technologies and platforms with the successful methods and tools already developed through the years of KCWS, it is seen as an opportunity to address some of the challenges posed for the future, mostly including reflections. Thank you very much again for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Larissa, for this and report of what your research work has been. And I'm sure we will keep in touch for the further foreseeing futures, right? Okay. I would like to invite the people in the connection in Blue Jeans. If you have any comments or questions, like I said, we are actually running out of time, but I could take maybe a couple of minutes to answer any comments or questions that you may have. I am not aware of the other transmission in YouTube, but we can actually answer your questions if you leave a message there. Okay. Any other comments, maybe Shanks or Jay, that you might add to this session, and then we can actually call it a day. Yeah.
I think you rightly said it's a great sense of belonging to a larger cause and a family. KCWS for me has become like a family. Big conference.
Right. Yes. Thank you, Shanks. Jay?
Well, I think
One last word?
Yes. Okay, I'm on. I think it's a rich stew, I'll put it that way. And I think you don't realize it always at the time of what this whole thing has amassing into and what the implications of it are, the impacts of it are. So I appreciate the opportunity to take that walk down memory lane, as it were, and just allow the connections to start coming back up again. So, yeah, I think the points that I made in the beginning seem to be resonant with all the things that that we've been talking about today. So, contributions will continue onward. Thank you for hosting.
Thank you, Jay. Larissa, one last word?
Well, I just want to thank you very much. Thank you, the WCI, and I'm very, very glad to be part of this year, and I hope I can keep in touch through the years from now on.
Absolutely. You're part of this now. You're on board. Okay, I don't want to end up this without reading the question that Dr. Carrillo is sending us. You must remember that he's one of the brains behind all this. And he's asking to all of us, what does KCWS, Knowledge Cities World Summit, mean to you personally? So it's not a question to answer right now, but it's a question we take home. You know, it's a takeaway of today. And I want to thank every one of you that attended this particular presentation, this session today. And as Larissa says, we are keeping in touch with you from now on. So thank you very much for your presentations, Larissa, Jay, and Shanks. And we have to stop right now for your break because we're having a break right now. We exceeded it for 5 minutes, but I think it was worth the whole thing. So thank you very much, and we can have a break right now. We'll be back in about 20 minutes. Yes, just about at quarter to 12 here in our local time. Okay. Well, thank you very much, and see you soon. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello, Kathy. Do you need any assistance here?
I'd like to try my slides, if I might. Just want to be.
Hi.
Hello, Tati. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you.
What I'm doing is doing a little bit
we are celebrating this year the 2020 Knowledge Cities World Summit, and that is in And for that, we are going to make a quick review on the main drivers, main aspects of these changes, how the life on the cities that are using and exploding the knowledge are really transforming our society, and which are the needs for change. We will also make a quick review of some of the real experiences we have passed as an organization. The WCI has been celebrating this summit in other cities that left a footprint and left the community working and developing what they learn and what they experience at that places. So for that, at this moment we have a couple of members of the World Capital Institute. They are board members, both of them. They are women. They have been also somehow involved with or working with knowledge cities. They are researchers and they are publishing, but they are also practitioners. They are also doing real things. So on one side, we have Kathy Gardner. She has been CEO at Manchester Knowledge Capital, sorry. She has been also leading knowledge cities and working with other cities around the world, but mostly in England. And she has been also involved in research and making or trying to influence in policy makers and also in the world, in the real world economy, how cities can impact and can evolve to more knowledge-based development. On the other hand, we have Tatiana Snyder. She's also member of the board of the World Capital Institute, and she led it very well. She organized it. She was one of the leading persons who were organizing the summit in 2019 in Florianópolis, Brazil. Was one very successful experience. She will talk later about that. She just published a paper about that experience and how the city has been transforming and evolving thanks to that experience. Now she's under a PhD program in engineering and knowledge management at the Santa Catarina Federal University in Brazil. So welcome, and please introduce yourself if you want, and please start presenting your ideas and content, please.
Thank you very much, Jose Carlos. I'm going to try and start off and share my screen. I hope everyone can hear me okay. And first of all, I'm just going to undertake a little reprise of what we've seen over the last 2 days. So I'm going to put my screen up now, hoping everything works correctly. There we are. Can you see? Yes? Good.
Yes. We see.
Yeah, great.
Right, so.
Okay. Well, yeah, thank you, Tatiana. What would I do without you? So over these 3 days, we've had such a rich experience. It's very, very difficult for me to try and sum it up and try and make the correct comments on it. So what I did today was to dictate a lot of words that I had in my head and came up with this. So I'm afraid you're getting my view of the sort of words we have heard over the past 2.5 days. And I'm afraid I have to say that they have cities can be drivers and are already in some cases leading that change. That we're looking to the future, and we are looking at challenging situations dealing with the anthropocene. We're looking at economy, society, well-being, health, and I have to add another word today. We heard it yesterday, heritage, but it came up today when we went on our world tour of the MAKCi Awards and all the cities that the Knowledge Cities World Summit has visited. What a fantastic tour we had. I won't go into them all now. And in some senses, I was really pleased with this word cloud because in a sense it creates a kind of sandwich. We're sitting on the Anthropocene with the word at the bottom, and we're sitting with knowledge at the top. But I think it's more of a banquet than a sandwich. The richness of the knowledge that we've shared, the richness that we continue to discuss. I'd like to thank each and every one of the people who've contributed to that and look forward very much to taking forward that dialogue into the future. So now I'm going to move on. I'll leave it at that and move on to my presentation about how I believe that knowledge cities can actually be some of those makers for change. Well, hang on, I've gone too far. Sorry about that. I spoiled the fun. Change is central to everything we've spoken about, and cities must be critical to that, given that they have over half of the total population of the world now. And although urbanization creates huge challenges that threaten the quality of life, the environment, I also contend that it represents one of our best hopes for solving some of these challenges. In the pandemic that we've all been living through, well, not all living through, but we here have lived through, city centres became deserts, rife with closures of retail and hospitality. What will be normal when we get back from COVID-19? Many questions to be discussed. COVID-19, however, has shown that we can, in urban areas, have fast-track novel solutions to some of our challenges. What about the use of robots to disinfect hospitals in China? The harnessing of big data for contact tracing in South Korea and Singapore. In Spain, Jose Carlos, I hope I'm correct, the use of virtual doctors has increased dramatically. And Liverpool here in the UK is piloting mass testing for the rest of the UK. Yeah, there are many questions to ask about these, and all innovation is not necessarily good. The most successful cities in the future will be those that don't just focus on innovation at the expense of other needs, but they will be those that manage to recognize and adapt to the local challenges that they're facing. And they drive forward underpinned by values which spur purposeful action. Knowledge cities have already been through several transformations. We've seen some of that earlier this afternoon. Shenzhen, amazing transformation in a short period. And I know myself from Manchester, a post-industrial city that is now a leading creative city. However, nothing is constant but change itself. And Darwin said, not the strongest, most intelligent that survive, but those most adaptable to change.
Recording is
Four
on.
horsemen of the apocalypse, but I want to add another one, but I'll come to that in a minute. The waves have already broken on many of the shores. Early in COVID-19, we thought we were all in the same storm or all in the same sea, but clearly now we're not all in the same boat. Although prime ministers, future kings, presidents have all gone through COVID-19, it's been far from an equal experience. And other waves here are as unlikely to have an equal effect as the pandemic. For me, the poor will always pay the greatest price, be that in terms of health, employment, environmental impacts. So inequality that we talked about yesterday matters in the face of such change. And I'll now look at the impact of the tsunami. Plus, I will add another significant wave that has already been lapping across many cities, that of technology. Each may pose more questions than answers, but we have to start by asking the question. So, taking each in turn, I will quickly describe some of the experiences that we faced in these tsunamis. The pandemic undoubtedly has been a major wake-up call for people and for cities. We must not waste this crisis. The phrase of "build back better" has become very familiar to many. It has been hugely significant. Over 50 million cases, over 1 million deaths. We hit the 50,000 deaths in the UK this week. In the USA, it's over nearly 250,000. And in Mexico and Brazil, it's very high also. But not everybody was exposed to the same risk. Those in Black, Asian, and minority ethnic were twice as likely, as women were twice as likely to be at risk, and men were 3 times as likely to be at risk. This is due to the social determinants of health, where they now live and work, and the poverty and underlying diseases of the poor has increased that risk. The second wave is likely to be an economic recession. And there may be some good points. Given the amount of money that has been spent by the public sector, could this shift the dial on the economic orthodoxy of the last 40 years of neoliberal capitalism in places like the US and the UK? Yesterday in the UK, the unemployment figures rose to the highest ever since the financial crisis, largely for those the youngest. With over 300,000 redundancies, there is a serious weakness in the labour market. And even the Bank of England is talking about inequality and saying that the polarisation, which was a priority, allegedly, of our government, is now a necessity. It can never be said that the economic system is working for us all. We heard yesterday from Belina about the poverty in the global world, but it's not just about money. In the UK, life expectancy differs by 9 years between the top and bottom of the income distribution, and the gap on healthy life expectancy itself.
Recording
And
is on.
hopefully, when it is a conference to itself, COP21 in Glasgow next year, we will make progress. Species extinction and biodiversity collapse. 60% of ecosystems are now thought to be degraded and overexploited. The Living Planet Index, which has tracked this over 20 years, shows a decrease of 60% in species population between 1970 and 2014. And the current rates of species extinction are 100 to 1,000 times higher than the background rate. And for my dear friends in South and Central America, this is particularly serious. Just as one example, just the other day, I was excited to discover that they'd found a monkey, new to science, has been discovered in the remote forests of Myanmar. The Popo langur, named after its home on Mount Popo, is already critically endangered, with numbers down to around 200 individuals. This is real. So I add one more, technological waves. And we talked about the good and the bad and the ugly yesterday, and I'm going to use that phrase again, because there are some really good things coming out of technology. It's not all the Wild West. We wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't for the digital connectivity we have on Zoom or Blue Jeans. We wouldn't have the scope of access to information and knowledge that we have. We wouldn't see the use of AI in healthcare, where robotics don't get bored or tired and are now giving us higher rates of tumor detection. We can monitor air pollution and sensors, and we can get somebody is trying to call me on my landline and on my phone, but I'm ignoring it.
Maybe someone that disagrees with your ideas, maybe it's Donald Trump.
Maybe. So apologies, I've been a bit diverted by that. All these sensors in the cities require greater energy use. Anyway, there are many good things in technology, but there are some challenging areas. Whose data is it anyway? Read Surveillance Capitalism by Shoshana Zuboff if you want to know more. There are digital divides. The poorest have the least access to online teaching. And in many places, technology is not driven by purpose or challenge. It's driven by the need for new tech, and it's driving more inequality. Can you believe there are algorithms now managing people? In Amazon, the algorithm measures whether the people are walking fast enough. In Amazon, people are going outside and putting their mobile phones in trees to try and get a $15 delivery slot before the next person. At the same time, Bezos earns $321 million a day. Lower paid algorithmic workers are emerging in AI-powered organizations with a small number of highly paid employees and potentially millions of algorithmically low-paid freelancers in new digital poorhouses. And then there's the ugly. Shall I start with the anti-vax myths that are now flowing around on social media? Fake news, the echo chambers, racial abuse, the conspiracy theories, the interference in democratic processes. All that quantum computing is rumored to be able to kill every corruption algorithm we currently have in place. So no longer will your WhatsApp communication be encrypted. It will be laid bare for everyone to see. And there's the bad guy in the corner. Pandemic, the cities. How am I doing for time, Jose Carlos? Am I running over? Okay.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. How much longer have I had? Pandemic cities, they suffered lots of shock, but they were good things. They had green spaces, they were less crowded, there was more active travel. But cities will repurpose and reinvent themselves. They may come out with younger populations, more housing, fewer shops and offices, fewer offices and shops. But we're already seeing this in places like London and Paris, the 15-minute city, and Glasgow, where COP21 will be next year, has already got a 20-minute neighbourhood principle with cycle and walkways to enable people to get around in the city. So what will our post-pandemic cities look like? I'm quoting a colleague of mine, Nick Dunn at Lancaster University, who said that past visions of future cities were monstrous, but now we imagine a brighter tomorrow. Well, let's hope that we do. Yesterday we heard lots about community wealth building in places like Preston and Birmingham, and the role that heritage can play, and anchor institutions can drive up inclusion. There are many things that we can do, and perhaps we'll look at a future where we go back to the garden cities that Ebenezer Howard designed in 1898, allowing not only the active town life, but the beauty of delight of the country to be secured in perfect combination. However, values and visions are essential. What can knowledge cities do to help bring that new change around? They have reinvented themselves from their industrial past. They have strengths that they can use. They sit in open systems. They are connected nationally and globally. They have younger populations. They approach things not in silos, but together. They have a real opportunity not only to change, but to help others change. Knowledge cities have always had that integrated approach. And we need to take that, but they need to reach out to their neighbours, as Eleanor Ostrom said, in polycentric governance. And we need national governments to set the agenda and step back and not try to impose a one-size-fits-all approach. And we need to be aware of that cowboy in the corner there, just in case. For me, we need a vibrant economy, but we need it to serve society and not the other way around. That's my riposte to Bill Clinton. I want to finish very briefly with a vision of the future presented at the World Economic Forum in 2019 by the Japanese Business Federation, and ask one final question. How do we build on and adjust knowledge-based urban development to be valid for a future that will better serve both people and the planet? For me, this is the urgent question that we've actually been uncovering in this conference. Do we need knowledge-based urban development 5.0? The proposal from the Japanese Business Federation is not a prediction of the future, but a concept that shows the bright future we want. It's not something to come, but something we can co-create. The main player of that society is not technology, but human beings. The society
With
Recording is
a lot
on.
of deep ideas underneath. So we need to reflect to answer that questions that you presented. So, well, let's see the ideas that Tatiana wants to share us about the experiences that faced on past summits in last years, because for sure there are some lessons learned from there that you can share with us, please.
Thank you, Jose Carlos. And thank you again, Kathy, for a wonderful speech. I remember listening to you last year on KCWS 19, and it was really, really deep as well. And it touched the heart of a lot of people. So you're always very inspirational on your speeches. Thank you. And it's an honor to be here. How is it? Am I on?
Yes.
Yeah, we can see it very well.
Right, great. Okay, so, well, Knowledge City Change Makers. So this is it. I'm gonna briefly present a study from the Global South perspective. So this is something that I've been seeing in the literature, that not much study has been done on cities towards their sustainable development path. So basically, this is trying to fill this gap. And so I'm speaking from Florianópolis. It's a city, a capital of Santa Catarina state, down south in Brazil. Its territory, it's 97% basically in the island. So it does have a lot of amazing beaches, and though it is a very touristy destination. And well, then you can imagine what happens if we have in this confined territory 500,000 people, and in a summer we double it for more over than 1 million and every year. So we do have a lot of issues to handle in this territory. But on the other hand, we do have a very mature and interesting, thriving innovation ecosystem going on, basically because of the Santa Catarina Federal University that has been giving birth to a lot of new businesses and technology and engineers, and also a private sector that is interested in developing that path. So much that we manage university and private sector with public sector support to host the KCWS 2019 last year. Well, obviously, yes. So I just wanted to brag a bit about it and show you a picture from last year. That was actual a physical interaction, really nice. We managed to gather over 500 participants and 40 speakers in 4 days. So it was a very intense meeting. We had a lot of active engagement from private sector, public sector, universities, but we did notice not so much contact and interaction with the community. So this is something that really need to be working on. The other thing that I was reviewing on what happened last year, and it was really striking me to see at the forward of this report. It was saying how much leaders were responsible and key in order to have this response and a whole of a society approach in order to ensure protection of all the people, of everybody. And that is amazing to see how much knowledge we do have, things that we had predicted somehow, and we are still on our second wave and still lacking leadership to tackle the problem. So something to be to look at as well. But the other thing that I wanted to share as well, it was a presentation that, oops, I'm not sure if it's not showing.
Yep,
Come on.
something is missed there.
Yeah, the pictures were there and they're not there anymore. Why you guys are doing this to me? Oh, all of them. Okay. So basically what happened last year was, let me see if it gets back again. No, even here, let me refresh it. Well, I was trying to bring a study that I've done last year. Well, actually 2 years ago that we started on Florianopolis. It was called Smart Floripa Project. And it is a project that tried to understand the path of, there it is, the path of sustainability and the strategies that the city have been trying to put together in order to grant its knowledge-based development. So I just presented partially the results, but this year in 2020 we managed to publish the final study at Sustainability Report. You can check on this care code. And so what we did was presenting and placing Egypt Canvas a knowledge-based urban development framework that basically looks at the socio-cultural, economic, institutional, and spatial development aspects of the city. And here you've got some priorities that we analyzed. I'm not gonna go through them because I really want to have more discussion rather than being here. But just to quickly present what we've done was we conducted a literature review to understand this path creation from tourism, very traditional tourism and public service drive to knowledge-based activities that gave us knowledge enough to build this online survey that we had 55 responses evaluating Florianopolis innovation performance in respect to the Global Innovation Index. And this analysis made us create a knowledge-based urban development code list. This code list helped us to analyze the in-depth interviews from the 12 experts and stakeholders. There were like really intense work, and we listened to the quadruple helix then. So it was a lot of information trying to place in these codes. And by analyzing those, we understood better the gap between the growing potential of the city and the awareness from the key actors in relation to support the city complex dimensions. And what I mean by that, I mean about the weight that has been put on the engineering, the technology, and the pure innovation. I'm saying that good, that they are considered green economy. So the climate change is actually doing to pose the climate change issue into the agenda. And this is something that obviously and actually when you talk about green economy, I wanted to share that data with you guys. That if the internet actually was a country, it would be the sixth biggest in the world in terms of emissions. This is work from climateaction.tech. And so this is something to be considered. Well, not really green economy, and what is actually being clear is that we need to amplify the ecosystem's vision and place innovation for the common good towards a sustainable path. And well, how to do that? Well, we have been seeing, and throughout this conference, we have been listening to the Donut Economic, and they have been doing a great work I mean, the community in Amsterdam has been doing a great work. And the deal, that is the laboratory from the Donut Economics, has been sharing a lot of information and a lot of material for people to start doing these discussions within their realities. And basically we're talking about understanding this going beyond the boundaries of the ecology ceiling that we've got, and understanding what our needs. The gap between one and the other, it's where the innovation and the focus needs to be done. And well, so I'm just briefly showing this just to say that also there is this joining the donut dots that was really creative. Game and workshop to do with community and whoever that is trying to start understanding the link between one dimension and the other, and how one impacts to the other. And only that, when I start to see what these impacts and the things that we are doing, and what this relates to the environment and the climate crisis itself, it's actually something that we can work on. And so becoming, and that is, well, maybe the final saying here, that to become the smart and sustainable city requires the entire city to meet the target. And that's where I stand over here, and maybe we can deepen in the comments and questions you guys might have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tatiana. Very, very interesting, very good lessons learned from from the last summit that took place in Florianopolis. I learned a lot of things from the both perspectives you presented, and now we have a few minutes to discuss and also allow questions from the other people that is attending the meeting. I will try just to start to open the discussion. Yes, you mentioned something very interesting, Tatiana, about sustainability and cities and the importance that from the knowledge perspective it has. And also, Kathy said that as we can see now, and the research and the studies demonstrated, most of the population in the world will be concentrated in cities. So how can we combine this situation in the cities with this sustainability? I mean, for sure there are a lot of studies and so on, but what do you think? And it impacts absolutely in inequality, as you said before. What do you think about this?
This is a huge challenge for us. I don't think we're going to go. I go back to the presentation yesterday where we're talking about community wealth building and self-sufficiency. So there are green spaces. There are ways that we're not doing what we do at the moment with masses of travel into the city, masses of travel out of the city. You know, we can live within the city and live within that garden city type of approach. You know, that's going to be difficult in really big built-up areas. But I think we've got to try to.
It was very, very. I mean, because of the last comments you said. So, in general, talking about challenges, needs, and how cities are going to be really engines for the change for society. Well, you presented very good questions about the emerging agenda of the city, of the future of the cities, but how can we start to make this change?
I think there are some cities that are actually making that change and making that visible to others, but also not. I've been doing looking at a study of the emergence of innovation districts. Now, innovation districts in the cities, they're almost like small villages now. Everything is there. They're within 15 minutes, and Paris is within 15 minutes. Glasgow within 20 minutes. You know, they're compartmentalizing. And if we can begin to work out the energy expenditure of the cities, the allowing nature to come back into the cities, it will take quite a change. But I think that those cities that I've worked with in the past, who've gone from derelict industrial, post-industrial cities, have a constant will to change, a constant interest in changing. And I think if we see younger people moving to the cities, I think we'll see a momentum for change, particularly on the green agenda. And if our governments, our national governments, have any sense to recover from COVID-19, they should be pushing a really strong green agenda. And the cities could lead in some of that because they have got the soft infrastructure, the people, the leadership, the partnerships, the experience, the innovation, the skills to actually help them make that change. And one of the studies I did recently was looking at Tech City in London, which was basically an old derelict area that became one of the leading technology hubs in London, until the central government got involved and destroyed the whole thing. So,
well, it's very interesting. Let me ask you in this way. This week I was reading on the news that the paper there was an article that explained that here in Barcelona, where I'm located, nowadays there are more people employed in activities related to artificial intelligence than in the automotive industry. You know that Barcelona has a legacy on automotive industry, where there is Seat and other car makers, they have their plants. So it's very, very spectacular, this information about how blue collar has of large corporations getting old in the game. So here, coming back to this with this example, there are large corporations that are establishing their innovation hubs, and they are getting old, and they are killing the small startups that are trying to compete in the technology space. So is this another trend in the cities, or what do you think about technology innovation, which is the evolution that we will live?
I think that's it. I'll answer. Tatiana needs to say something. There's lots of questions here. But just very briefly, again, looking at the innovation districts in London, you know, Google had a big center, which when they started, it was an open access place, and now it's not. You only can get in if you're a Google subscriber, you know. So I think the local environment, people are beginning to recognize that it's not always good. And this story of Tech City is wonderful, because it really shows you that it was the central government that wanted all the big tech companies to come in. But originally it was a community of artisans, of tech people, of people who were just starting up their companies. So the whole, you know, the whole zeitgeist has to really change. And cities have a bit of power to do that, to say what they want and what they'll allow. You know, we have to hope that they take that power. Certainly big cities like London and Melbourne, and, you know, not quite Manchester at the moment. It's struggling under COVID-19. But, you know,
Tatiana,
I
do you
just
want to
think
say something more? Sorry.
yeah, Tatiana, come on.
No, I'm just looking at the questions that are coming.
Yeah,
and
there's lots of questions.
yeah, I think we need to address them, maybe.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yes, of course. Please go ahead.
Unless you have something direct to me, I don't know. I assume
No,
that
no, that's fine. That's fine. Please,
Okay.
can you choose one and read it and
Yeah, I'm mixing two. I think the one from Shanks and Blanca, because they do relate somehow. And so Shanks was asking me about if not engineering leads innovation, what else then would be important in the new normal? I do believe that engineering is very important, but the thing is, there is an imbalance in this city that we have been noticing. That is, for instance, all the resources and the importance goes to this area, and what is valued somehow, like for instance, one of the things that they were saying about what is lacking in the social cultural dimension is the lack of talented people. And well, the lack of talented people means engineers. And the thing is, we know that this is not the only ingredient to make innovative solutions in a community. And if the leaders still think about it and do not open it for other options to jump in and to listen to other points of view, then we know we won't have a proper solution for complex problems. And so that's the balance I'm trying to bring over, and also on the study analysis, that diversity and whole of society approach needs to tackle in. And innovation somehow, well, we've got social innovation that looks at other types of innovation that does not include engineering itself, and which is also tackling on Blanca's question on how difficult it is experience and environmental degradation is actually in the Amazon is actually having impact upon Brazilian society. Well, I mean, we have been losing a lot of traditional indigenous people and fauna and flora, and for me, this is a lot of intelligence being lost. And this is our patrimony, and it's not only Brazil's, it's the world's. And I don't see this as only a Brazilian problem. So all the time, though, Brazilians that elect the type of leaders we've got, but we know about international relations, what happens with consumption of everything. This has been tackled in other panels as well, discussions as well. So everybody at this point is accountable for something that is happening in this country and any other part in the world. So somehow it's been really it's been heartbreaking what's happening in our nature, our environment all over the world, but especially here. And well, I think we need to balance things, and we need to integrate things, and that is in a very wider perspective on politics, on practices, on dialogue, and in order to have this complex answer for complex problems and all the waves that are still about to come. If I am too evasive or not clear in any of those answers, please let me know. Thank you, Javier.
Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you very much.
Yeah, very good. And
Kathy, you have a couple of questions there.
Yeah,
also.
I have, yes. I'll take the one on the sixth wave. Blanca, the idea is that we don't know what the sixth wave might be. I mean, go to Rumsfeld, it's the unknown unknowns, you know, but if we're not able to adapt and keep changing, you know, I come back to the Darwin, the survival is not of the strongest, it's the most adaptable species, you know, so we have to keep adapting. I'll mention, just pick up the one about COP meeting in next year in Scotland. Well, it all depends on who gets president of the USA, would be my response. And or it will, and it will be affected by that. It will be affected by that. If the USA comes back into the Paris Agreement, then I think we will get a much better global perspective on what is happening there, and hopefully the COP meeting will be successful. Certainly this government has to make it, our government has to make it a success, because they're making such an interesting experience with the pandemic and everything else. So they see this as some challenge. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Very good answer. So we have a few minutes, maybe one question for both of you about just like wrapping up all the summit, or what do we have to learn, and thinking on potential cities that are listening to us and they are hoping to host this summit because they want to learn, they want to involve their community. Can you please explain a little bit what does this kind of event mean for them, and which are the benefits they will have by hosting a city, the summit in their city?
Well, I think that Anna, who is not visible at the moment, should tell, because as we were just talking, I think the engagement with the city, we tend to engage with them and look at their
Recording is on.
Do you want to say something, Anna? Right. Yeah, well, in Florianopolis, we didn't, it is something that I really would like, and based on probably what comes out from Larissa's study, we can start thinking about a way of evaluating that type of action from hosting a knowledge summit, knowledge in the city, because it does make a lot of noise in a good sense, like it mixes with the subject, and suddenly it goes into national television and the media coverage, and people start to asking for interview, and what is it? What is Knowledge City? So all of this starts to get out of academia and get into the community and get into you know, a more fluid system. That's what we need in order to start discussing the little details and bring, yeah, visibility, thank you, Anna, to everything, and to everything that we are doing and we believe and we are fighting for. So so this is, I think it's crucial, and it's and also very important for us to start measuring it, and because it is fragile. I mean, how do you measure that type of thing? But maybe Bento Gonçalves is the classic example that had a major impact. But we have to bring these indexes and measurements for this action. Yes.
Thank you very much. Anyone more? Do you want to comment anything on that? Okay, so I guess we are arriving to the end of this panel. I don't know if someone wants to make another question more. Blanca, do you want to ask anything more?
Thank you, Jose Carlos. I think we will have people all over the place to answer to this final question, and I think it's quite important. But as you mentioned, Ana Cristina has a very good example in Bento Gonçalves and even Caxias do Sul. And Tati, yes, still to know what happened in Florianopolis, because it's too short of a time, you know, 12 months to say, but I think, you know, some fruits should be showing up now. But I think Kathy has also something to say about Manchester. And maybe she's keeping shy, but, you know, Manchester was one of the household names in MAKCi in the very first years, and it's still going on. So I definitely think that the people here represented, including Toronto, for instance, for Shanks, Toronto is also a household name in MAKCi. So we are still to fine-tune the kind of impact that these kinds of exercises do. But we are positive that there is an impact in there to mobilize capitals and resources, and as we say, also the actual link in relationships between the different sectors within a city is quite interesting. So we're definitely, you know, available for more questions on this, but I definitely wanted to say that, yes, there is an impact. Yes, there is a legacy, and we are moving on from that. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Blanca. So we hope a lot of things
Recording is on.
6 sessions, each of which was directed to a very specific topic, but each of which was very substantially addressed by the set of speakers that was assembled by the respective curators. We had this role of someone taking care of making sure that each session was served by the presence of prominent speakers who actually contributed very significantly. So first of all, like always, This is a communitary exercise. This is what we are talking about. We are not talking about just like kind of a content covering exercise in a merely academic or disciplinary sense, which of course it also is also involved, the bringing of specialists. But most important of all, as it was also recollected in Kathy's overview and the whole of the prior session, the fact that this is very much a community building and value enhancement and connectivity, not just in terms of technical and procedural resources, which it is, but also in terms of the hearts and the willingness and the disposition and the consciousness of individuals and communities to get together and look for new paths to development, and in this case, even for the challenges of survival before the Anthropocene. So, in this sense, first of all, since this is the core fabric of KCWS, it's people. My first point is to address each of you who have taken part in this, in thanking you wholeheartedly. First of all, as an institution, Colef, all of the people there who were generously backing us up, and Blanca as our as the chair of the local organizing committee, who was there as the guardian angel and the soul of this whole event being possible. And then to each and every one of the curators of each of the sessions, to each and every one of the chairs of the session, and to all of the speakers who have so graciously and generously participated, and to each and every one of the individuals, the people who were accompanying us throughout both the Blue Jeans platform and also the YouTube broadcast, with also an apology there to those who were not able to join, particularly on the first day and partially yesterday as well. That there was some delay in the screening of the broadcast. Our apologies to those colleagues and friends who had this frustration, but hopefully that the rest of the content that was able to be accessed through each platform compensated for that. And in this sense, again, this was our first, like so many years, so many things this year have been disrupted by this overwhelming, there is this cartoon that Kathy presented of these waves, these tsunamis coming upon each of our cities, each of our communities, each of lives, all around us have been touched or even terribly disrupted by
Recording is on.
And just as a closing remark, I want to share with you all a significant development within WCI. As you know, the World Capital Institute has evolved along two tracks: a more foundational conceptual track, which is and has been knowledge-based development, and a more practical and more technically oriented track, which is the field of knowledge cities, which in a way is the application of the first into the second one and a revolving feedback system to take new thinking into new action and backwards. This continues to do so, but over the years, we have come across these waves that Kathy was presenting, these tremendous realities that we have to face, and most predominantly, basically because it encompasses all of the others, inequality, social injustice, and technological challenges and so forth, is the anthropocene. This condition that is really undefined, and we don't know what it is, and it is good that we don't know what it is, and we don't pretend to say what it is. Of course, beyond its original geological significance, meaning basically an undeletable impact of the human species upon the planet, so that it is recorded there for many, many thousands of years to come. So that it's living is an impact that is recorded in the stratigraphical record for perhaps another civilization in the future to find out that we were here sometime, or hopefully ourselves, hopefully future generations, very future generations, realizing that perhaps this self-nominated attribution of a wise species was a bit of too large of a name for us, an undeserved self-recognition, and perhaps our work today may enable them become a wiser society. So, in this sense, we are evolving also into working on two tracks which give continuity, do not stop, because knowledge-based development and knowledge cities continue, but they project itself into two new tracks. One, the foundational one as well, is knowledge for the Anthropocene. We had the first day, particularly the first session, thinking about this, how the whole knowledge systems infrastructure that we have created, particularly since the modernity, has actually brought us to this circumstance, and how we really need to rethink and redesign and reinvent the whole of the knowledge production, distribution, generation, methods and capabilities we have created in order to face, if we have a chance, the challenges of the Anthropocene. And the other applied track is, of course, the urban aspect of it, one that we have labeled city preparedness for the climate crisis. Not just in terms of what we want is really to be more proactive,
Recording is on.
At a global scale. Unless that happens, the future doesn't seem such a promising prospect. But here we are, and this is what we are trying to contribute with and to participate. And so with this idea of evolving and moving ourselves, each of us in our own lives, in our own context, but as being part of this global consciousness and global response capacity, that we can close this annual Knowledge Cities World Meeting. And thanking again everyone, and hoping to meet you. And Blanca has some comment and announcement to make. So I'll stop here and just thanking again everyone.
Thank you very much, Dr. Carrillo. I just want to make a closing remark. Yes, to inform all of you that the system in YouTube is reporting 349 visits to the site of the conference. So if we add that to a bit of an average of between 18 and 20 here in Blue Jeans, that really brings us to 400 views of our event, and I think that is already taking a bit of an impact. So I wanted to inform you of that, so you again go in high spirits, but definitely we would keep on with these strategies, and we definitely hope to see you very soon. Thank you all.
Thanks.
So stay tuned, and if you want, you can stay connected. See you soon.
See you soon. Thank you again. Thank you,
See you
Blanca.
soon. Bye.
Take care. Bye for now.